how much we make, or at least how much is being paid me or will be paid me. I took over August 15. I'm entitled to August pay by law. Since I became senator, I have not been paid, and it is not a deliberate intent to deprive me as Darius Dillon. It is a general issue in the country that nobody has been paid for August and September. So I have not received a dime from government since I became senator. Not a dime, not gasoline incentive, nothing. I'm placing it on the record, and I will leave it to those who want to believe it. Anybody who wants to disprove it, there are many channels that you can use. We committed that we will inform the Liberian people what we make as senator, and we will receive only $5,000 from that money. We remain committed to that, and that we will return the rest of the money to the people of Montserrat County through a dedicated account that will be operated by Montserrat County. The 17 districts will meet so that they determine who will be the signatories, and one of the signatories will be our chief of staff for the purpose of monitoring and accountability. Not until yesterday, when the chairman on Ways, Means, and Finance of the Senate, who is responsible to present a new lawmaker the package, not until yesterday that I got a handwritten version from Senator Morris Setoma. Go ahead, okay. My winner winning that. From my calculation, we are making $15,325 gross. $15,325 gross. In addition thereto, we make basic salary of $29,700 Liberian dollars. 15,000, so I'm going to break it down. $29,700 Liberian dollars as in basic salary, the one that comes through civil service.
Okay, folks, welcome back. You are listening to the Today Show right here on your favorite dials. We are coming to you live on Spoon 107.5 and Fabric 101.1. We also live on our social media handles. We're live on Spoon TV Live, Fabric TV Live, Super TV Live, and via our YouTube channel. We also live via www.spoonfmradio.com. You can catch us on those platforms, and of course, you going to listen to this special conversation with folks from the Environmental Justice Foundation. It's 8 minutes on the flip side of 9 o'clock. And for those of you who've been playing the radio entertainment game, you can keep playing until 10 o'clock when we'll be doing our final draws. Okay, the code is *799 *80#. You pay the playing fee of 200 Liberian dollars or $1.50. So let's now ushering our guests. This morning we have Augustine Faya and Edward Blamo as our guests from the Environmental Justice Foundation, and they are right here with us in studio. I'd like to say good morning and welcome to the today's show on Spawn.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so just so you know, folks, this over the past 3 weeks, the Environmental Justice Forum Foundation, they've been appearing here and they've been discussing transparency in Liberia's fisheries. They discussed the Global Charter for Fisheries Transparency and how it can be used as a framework for collaboration, justice, and sustainability in Liberia's fisheries sector. And this particular program or conversation that we are about to have is supported by the Communities for Fisheries project. And the Communities for Fisheries project is a 5-year European Union funded project implemented by the Environmental Justice Foundation to support the Liberian government in promoting sustainable and legal fisheries. The project's main objective is to improve the livelihood of fisher folks by creating skilled, capable, and effective collaborative management associations to enhance the management and governance of the marine ecosystems and fish stocks in Liberia. The Communities for Fisheries project started in 2019 and it's being implemented in Grand Cru, in Bassa, Cape Mount, and Magibi counties. The European Union supports this program through the Communities for Fisheries project, which is being implemented by the Environmental Justice Foundation in partnership with the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. So today's discussion will focus on working with journalists to promote transparency in fisheries management for legal and sustainable fisheries in Liberia. And our guests will discuss their experience working to promote transparency and writing fisheries stories. So in studio today, like I said, we have Mr. Augustine Faya and Edward Blamo. So let's just jump into the discussion, beginning with Mr. Faya. So how have you engaged the media so far to be able to promote transparency in Liberia's fisheries management, Mr. Faya?
Oh, well,
you maybe want to say a little bit about yourself so that the public can know.
Yeah, I'm the program officer for the Environmental Justice Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, we have engaged journalists over the years through capacity building. We have engaged them in covering most of our activities in the field. All right. Some of the activities include capacity building for fishmongers, especially on the setting up of very saving loans. We have also engaged journalists through the capacity building of the CMA, the Collaborative Management Association. So to cover these stories, to know how to understand how sustainable fishery management works. And then we have also engaged them through providing capacity building for journalists, training here. So over the years, we have trained a little over, let's say, between 30 to 40 journalists, in Liberia, and fisheries reporting, on how to conduct investigative activities within the fisheries sector to be able to give more light of what's happening in the fisheries sector.
Okay, and so far, what have been some of your success stories?
Well, I think that some of our success story include the training of journalists. Over the years, you can you notice that the journalists, most of them have been reporting on a lot of political issues, but they are not really covering, the fisheries sector the way in which they're supposed to do. So we decided to engage them because we believe that they play a very crucial role when it comes to transforming the fisheries sector. So we started to engage them, one, firstly by building their capacity, by informing them what are some of the issues in the fisheries sector, and how as journalists, they can be able to engage the fishery authority and other key stakeholders to be able to understand how the sector works, what's happening, and what are some of the good things involved. So we have been able to provide that capacity building for them. And then also we have supported, we have awarded two grants to journalists, how to conduct some investigative reporting in the sector, come up with stories, important story with facts, and then they have done that. And then the reports are also published, so you can find them on the website. They are there. And then also some of the sources include most of the stories they covered during the implementation of the project from 2019 up to present. So they have been covering some of these stories, informing the public what the community of fishery projects is doing in the various counties at the county level. So creating awareness, sensitization, and the establishment of 7 CMAs, collaborative management, in 4 counties. So these are some of our success stories, setting up of 33 very civil loans. 32 of them are 100% women, while the other one is 50-50. You have 50% men and 50% women. So that's a pilot we are doing to see how we can also get the men involved into very civil loan activities.
One may ask, how difficult was it, getting journalists involved in, reporting on the fisheries sector of the country, especially within a country where most of the journalists' attention are on the political issues? And what has been your own working relationship with them within the fisheries sector? Have they been very cooperative? Has it been easy working with journalists, taking their minds from political happenings and having them focus just on the fisheries sector?
Well, quite frankly, I must say here today publicly that the journalists in Liberia, they have the potential.
Okay.
Yeah, they are serious-minded people. Let me be honest with you. The challenge there is they don't have the resources. Yeah, they don't have the resources to go out there to cover stories, because to travel from here to Grand Crew, to travel on their own, they don't have the finance. So they need some level of support. So that is why we have been able to build that collaboration between the fishery authority, that is NAFA, and the journalists, to see how we can bring the two parties together. Yeah, that look, there's a need that we all work together, bringing civil society together, bringing the journalists together, bringing the government institutions together, so that they all can work together. So it have been challenging though, but the only challenging part I see, they're working on their own, to go out there to be able to cover the stories, what happening there is a challenge. The resources is a challenge. But working with them individually and collectively, I think it has been a wonderful thing. They are, and each time we call upon them, they will always be available. They are always on our doorstep. We are also on their doorsteps. So we have their mutual relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear from Blambo. Blambo, you want to give a little background about yourself?
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here to the EGF. My name is Edward Blamo. I'm a journalist, but currently I work as media officer for CENTAR, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. Before then, was and still a journalist, and I have been a freelance. I've been doing a couple of stories for mangabe.com, China Dialogue, and Front Africa, and other platforms. So it was sometimes in 2021 when I got the information about EGF conducting a training to empower journalists around the fishery sector. I took interest because I grew up in a fishing community. I grew up in Newtown, and I was surrounded by fishermen. I grew up, going on the beach and finding fish. So I thought that was interesting, and I took advantage of that. And I attended training. They provided opportunity for funds. They, gave grants. I applied for the grant, and I got the grant. And I wrote the story. They provided guidance. They had a lot of contacts all over, and it was just smooth, and everything went on fine. And since then, that relationship with EGF ignited. And since then, we've been working together. Just recently, they conducted another training, and I was there to, give my experience as a grantee of their project. So pretty much that's my relationship with the EGF.
Okay. Okay, and you talk about provision of training and support, to be able to enable you do your work effectively. You just want to expound on that, what sort of training or support you've received so far to be able to enhance the work in the sector, in the fishery sector.
So the objective of the training at the time, not just this the recent training, but even the previous training in 2021, it's about ensuring that, or was about ensuring that fishery stories take the front burner of newspapers and radio stations. We all can attest to the fact that in Liberia, a lot of times we don't pay a lot of attention to these sectors, especially critical sectors like the fishery sector. The stories that would take the headlines will always be the political stories, the president, the vice president, the speaker, and this and that. And issues as critical as fisheries, not often, even if you see it in the newspaper, it will always be inside the paper. And mind you, fishery sector is so important. It provides more than 65% of the animal protein. All the protein in our body, 65% that we get from animal, comes from fisheries. So that it makes it very important. It's a very critical sector, but maybe because there are not a lot of people into it, maybe 33,000 people involved, we have 5 million people, we feel that number is insignificant. We don't pay a lot of attention to, flagging the stories of those people, especially those fisher folks or fishmongers or those that are involved into the sector. So the training was worthwhile because it opened up a lot of things. It exposed us, me specifically, into the entire sector, the governance system, the structures, those key stakeholders, the players have understood more what the EGF is doing in terms of building capacity, empowering, and setting up collaborative management associations to provide governance, improve governance for fisheries. All of those knowledge were gained as a result of the training that they conducted for journalists.
Okay, and you want to share with us some of the stories you've covered so far, maybe one or two.
There are a couple of them. Before EGF, I've done a couple of them, especially in the fishery sector.
Oh, okay. You were already reporting all the research in the fishery sector before.
Yeah, so I would just throw a little light on the one that EGF funded. Okay. EGF funded the story about the impact of moment fishing on the local fishermen.
Organic fishing, moment?
Yes. So
what does that mean?
So moment is I don't know. It's fragmented fish.
Okay.
The fish is caught. Maybe there is no cold storage and it gets rotten.
Oh, okay. I understand.
And then it has some local preservation methods that they will apply to ensure that they can always make use of it. I ate that a lot when when I lived in Yucatan, so I was very familiar with that. And then there was this ban from NAFA that, well, we're going to ban Mumwe, is kind of pollutes the environment, especially some fishermen will go up in this, when they go fishing, they will, deliberately get the fish to get rotten so that they can bring it on board onshore as a Mumwe. And so NAFA thought to ban that practice. And that was interesting to me because I was thinking with myself, well, if this practice is banned, what about the tens of thousands of people that relish eating women, that appreciate that delicacy in their meal. What happens to them? What happens to these people? So I took interest. I did a couple of research on the importance of Mongolia, how many countries that they actually eat Mongolia, how many, other coastal countries that are involved in the practice of Mongolia fishing. I did the research and I talked to fishmongers. Some of them, there were some fishmongers I spoke to that are exclusively into Mongolia or buying and trading. And they told me it was very lucrative. We made a lot of money. There were people who came, people come from Nimba, people come from Bassa, other counties, and Riverside and buy more from them. And so they were worried that the ban will affect their income and all of those. So these are some of the things that we do, and these are some of the things that we are interested in. And I'm so happy that EJ was able to fund that story. It was published on Front Page Africa. If you go now from Front Page Africa, you talk about Momwe. I saw you read the full detail of the story.
Yeah.
So these are just some of the things we've been doing.
You talk about Napa, banning Momwe. What did it say is actually wrong with that?
They cited a couple of things, environmental issues. They say
it wasn't safe for eating or what?
Yes, sort of not safe, but then the basic contention was the fact that if you go out and fish and then you keep the fish in the net because you want to get rot, and you will draft other fish away, it pollutes the ocean in a way that other fish will be driven away from that particular scene. So they thought that was not an environmental friendly or style of fishing. But then it also has another style of it, which is, the impact on local fishing. And so that is why most of our reports, or my reports, I have been able to flag that every policy around fisheries, governance policy around fisheries, should take into consideration the livelihood of the local fishermen, because the local fishermen are the lifeblood of the fishing sector in Liberia. You cannot, institute a policy because maybe international folks want you to introduce that policy. You cannot introduce a policy because you are being pressured by, international community. You introduce a policy where you do a study and you realize that policy benefits the local fishermen, because these are the engines of the fishery sector. If we don't have local fishermen, we are not going to have fish on in our boards. If you just rely on foreign vessels coming, getting your taxes from them and getting all the benefits, they're going to take those fish to European markets. They're going to supply European markets and feed Europeans and other nationals and Asians with your fish. So we should prioritize the local fishermen, because these are folks that will take the fish from this ocean and bring it right to us and supply on our table. We will eat and be nourished and have all the nutrients we desire.
Okay, Blamo, we will come back to you to share with us some of the outcomes of your work. But let's hear from Mr. File. Mr. File, you've been working with the media for some time now. So what are some lessons you've learned from your engagement with the media so far?
I think we can talk about the challenges when it comes to resources.
Okay.
But one of the things I want to emphasize on is here. If you look at Monrovia, for example, you have 39 with newspapers.
Okay.
In Monrovia. And then in Monrovia alone, you talk about radio and television, you talk about over 20. And then if you go to the community radios in the 15 counties in Liberia, you have about 38, a little over 38, radio stations. Now, Liberia has, 9 coastal counties. And in the 9 coastal counties, there are approximately around 15, radio stations. Now, working, I remember in 2019 during the coronavirus, we were able to work with almost all of these 15 radio stations, to be able to create awareness on the Ebola crisis, prevention methods, and what have you. And then besides that, we also work with some of them when it comes to promoting some of the work that we do when it comes to the Communities for Fisheries project supported by the European Union. And if you look at the transparency issue when it comes to the 10 policy principles of the Global Charter for Fishery Transparency that encourages all government to adapt, this thing in their law and in their practices. Take into consideration all the number of radio stations we have, the number of journalists in the country. I believe that the radio stations, the journalists, they play a very key role to promoting these principles, highlighting these principles that would draw government attention that look, hey, there's a need that the principle will adapt them. And the key focus of these principles are in 3 areas. We talk about the vessels information, we talk about fishing activities, we talk about governance and management. So these are 3 key areas. So we believe that working with journalists, they will be able to promote, they will be able to highlight these issues that our government can be able to adapt, so that we can be able to promote sustainable fisheries in Liberia and fishery transparency.
And you can say for free that with your previous working, your recent working or engagement with the media, that has exposed the fisheries sector to the public. It has created some exposure.
Yes, indeed, that's what we're saying. So bringing in the media, it has helped. It has helped in a lot of ways. That to throw more light in it. But we believe that there's a need that more journalists be involved. There's a belief that a lot of investment, do more investment, to invest in the journalists so that they will be able to move out there, travel out there to collect more stories and then see what's happening. And then also see whether these, the global transparency principles is being adhered to by our government, and then what are the gaps? So all of these things, we believe that the journalists play a key role. That's why we're bringing them on board to be able to work with the state institutions, civil society, other civil society partners like EGF, so that we'll be able to promote fishery transparency.
Okay, Blamo, what are some outcomes of your work? What you want to share with us? What sort of impact your work, your stories have made out there? Have you been able to assess that?
So, for example, we don't have an impact tracker, for example, to say, well, the stories are written and these are some of the impacts.
Have you gotten feedback?
Yes, so that's the point I was coming. All right. So the objectives of most of the stories that we covered, I especially, is to lift the voices of local fishermen, to lift the voices of the locals. That's the objective of most of the stories. And then also through our reportage, we've been able to ensure that there's increased transparency within the fishery sector. Just one example, when I was doing the research on the impact of closed season fishing, there's this plan to introduce closed season fishing in Liberia across all the coastal counties. And when I went to do the research, a lot of the fisher folks were surprised. Oh, are they thinking about doing closed season? I don't know this. They were shocked. Some of them were surprised because nobody had talked to them about that. There've been no, conversation around that. Even the CMAs, some of them don't even know about that. So that was to say our engagement with those local fishermen kind of was a sort of information sharing and enlightenment and opening up the plans and others issues that may be confronting or that may confront them in the fisheries sector. So we've been able to provide us a sense of transparency and openness and lifting their voices and information sharing, allowing them to know not just what their rights are, but also what the authorities are planning or what they want to do and how it will impact them. That gives them a sort of confidence and make them feel that they're part of the entire fishery governance process in Liberia.
Okay. And according to you, I know you have to go about, doing some research as you write your stories. You want to give some background. You want to give out some factual information out there to your public. So what are some of the available platforms that you use to access information on fisheries?
There are a couple of them, a lot of them. So it depends on the kind of story you're writing. There are multiple research. I mean, we live in the internet age in Liberia, and as a journalist, there are multiple platforms available to your website. The only thing you do is to make sure you check as to the authenticity of that particular platform. But there are multiple reports, your research report from FAO, from NAFA, from EJF. I rely on EJF statistics a lot. They have very credible data. They do a lot of research in the fisheries sector. So most of the data or statistics that you will need for your story, you can rely on the EJF. And then there are other international platforms or international organizations. For example, there's this FCWC. I think is the I just forget
the Fishery Committee for the West and Central Government.
There you go. So that's that FCWC folks. They have a lot of information that you may need. They're available on their websites. You can even contact them to get clarity on some of the things because they are pretty much evolving to governance of the West African sector of West African countries, fishery governance. So, for example, if your story is around governance issue and you want to know whether it cuts across other West African countries, you could just contact them and then they will give you the information that you need. So there are multiple platforms available for you to do your research.
Okay, and what can you say to other journalists who are just taught to, reporting on political issues, not taking into consideration other sectors of the country, like the fisheries sector, a very vibrant sector that if, that exposure is created for, who bring a lot of dividends to the country. What can you say to your fellow journalists out there?
What I would say is that as a journalist, it's always good to have specialty. It makes you better. It makes you a better journalist.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that being, a mainstream, ordinary journalist that goes to, for example, the speaker and the legislature and cover the activities. You're a good journalist, right? You're a good journalist by reporting whatever the president does or wherever he goes. I used to report at the executive mansion before. I used to be assigned the Capitol building. But at some point, I realized I had to up my game. I had to, have specialty because you learn more when you specialize as a journalist. You read more, you get more exposure, and it makes you better as a journalist. So my advice to journalists is, yes, you can report the general issues. You can talk about what the president does and what the speaker does and what the pro-tem or whoever does, but you should always find a specialty. What interests you? For me, I'm interested in fishery because, as I said, I grew up in a fishing community, and I know, and I have families, that still indulge in fishing activities. So, I mean, I believe it's part of me. So you can find that area that interests you, whether it's health, whether it's generally the environment, whether it is agriculture, whether it is, whatever it is, find a specialty, read more on that sector, research more, write stories, and let you be recognized for that.
Okay. All right. So if you just joined us, folks, you are listening to the conversation with folks from the EJF. We have in our studio this morning Mr. Augustine Fire and from the EJF, and Edward Blamo. He's a Liberian journalist who's been working with the EJF, reporting some of the issues within the fisheries sector of the country. And on the show today, we are focusing on working with journalists to promote transparency in fisheries management for legal and sustainable fisheries in Liberia. And they are our guests here today. The time is now 20 minutes up to 10 o'clock. So if you're following the conversation and you maybe have a question, you have a comment to make, the hotlines will be declared open very soon, and the numbers are 0777 77 1075, 0777 77 1075, 0555 101075. Those are the numbers to call us on. You can call in a few minutes when we declare the lines open to make your input, or if you have an inquiry or question to ask, the opportunity will be given you to do that. But also for those of you playing the radio entertainment game, keep on playing. Today is the back to school jackpot. The code is *799 *80 hatch. You pay the playing fee of $1.50 US, or 200 Liberian dollars. You automatically enter the draw. We are giving out 50K and 10,000 Liberian dollars this morning. Several persons will win 10,000, or one person will win 50,000 Liberian dollars. So let's go back to you, Mr. Arthur. Is there anything you want to?
Yeah, when it comes to the issue of transparency, I would like to draw the attention of our journalists to the 10 principles.
All right.
You understand? Yeah. Especially principle 8 that have to do with the ratification of international agreement that set the standards for fishing vessels and trade, and then I have to look at specifically the ILO Convention number 188, and then the Cape Town Agreement. These are things that journalists can also promote out there to ensure that our government, are obligated, to ratifying these agreements. And then also principle 9 of this convention that had to do with the public and equitable access to fishery data, participation in fishery management and decision making, in the fishery sector. And then also principle 10, the collection of data on conditions of fishing vessel crews, and publish it in aggregated form. So these are, I'm just trying to summarize some of the principles of the global charter, that our colleagues out there, and especially those journalists that have been working over the years, they can look at, and then to be able to work with our colleagues from the state institutions, and then to see how best transparency can be promoted, and then adhere to, so that to ensure sustainable fishery governance in Liberia.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you can call us, folks. The lines are now declared open. Call us on 0777 77 1075, 0777 77 1075, 0555 101075. Call us, and if you have a question or an info to make, call us on those numbers and ask a question or make your point here. It's 70 minutes coming up to 10 o'clock. So call us and have your say here this morning. Let's see whether we can speak to this person on the line. Okay, we lost that person. or you can put through your calls on those hotlines 0777 077 Mr. File, you are engaging with the media. Right now, you have the print and electronic media, and social media is, has taken over now. I don't know how you are trying to engage with the social media as well to create an exposure as well for the fisheries sector. I know you just want to talk about it, even though it's not, on our plate of our list of questions. But how do you hope to also work with the social media,
No,
besides, the print media, the electronic media, the radio stations, and
we are working with everybody, so nobody is left out. The print media, the electronic media, the journalists. So we are involved with everybody. So I mean, most of our stories are published in the newspapers, and they're also online. So most of the programs, that we 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 conduct around the country, the electronic media, they are all involved. The print media, they are involved. So we engage everybody in the sector. So yeah, so they are involved. Our goal is to ensure that transparency is promoted at a higher level. Yeah, and then let me just bring this out.
Yeah.
We have constructed a lot of office facility for the Collaborative Management Association.
Okay.
In at the county level. So we just completed the other one in Groundses. So it would be dedicated, hopefully on the 24th of next week, October next week. So we will be going to grant crew, the CM manage some of the CM management team of NAFA, and EGF will be going there to be able to dedicate the facility and turn it over to the fishing community. So indeed, our engagement cut across all levels.
Okay, he was talking about feedbacks, from his stories, or some of the outcomes of his story. You've been working with him and other journalists. Have you gotten any feedback about stories they published?
No, I mean, all the feedbacks that I collated are documented. Lesson learned, comments. People, the impact, like on the side of NAFA, Bani Momwe, and then some of the justification they gave. These are things that are worth looking at. So all of the comments are under review, and then the comment also inform the decisions when it comes to developing new strategy, on how to improve the fishery sector. So these comments are not just like they are documented. So everything that people say, we document them, and then we look at them, review them. So if you look at the like my colleague said, that most of the fishermen, they are not aware of about close season. The close season issue is something like in Ghana, in our sister country Ghana. That's the thing they are doing there. So I always say this: when lesson learned from other countries, when they come to Liberia to share these lessons learned with us, it is important that we adapt them. The issue of close season is something that our Ghanaian counterpart promoting in the sub-region, because especially the experience they had with the collapse of some of their fisheries. Because when you talk about collapse of their fisheries, some of the fish in the water, they're almost finishing. So what they did that make that part of the fish to finish is what we need to learn from. So some of the measures the institute had to put in place close season. That look, but during this time to the time nobody's allowed to fish. Everybody sit home. So if some of the guys in the community, they are not aware, yes. So these are awareness. So traditionally, our local communities, they have their local laws. that they work towards, that they use to be able to manage the fishery resources at the local level. So these traditional laws too need to be promoted by journalists because they are also important when it comes to sustainable fishery governance. They are also important. They need to be promoted. At the national level to see how government can include them when it comes to their policy decision making. So it is important that is why we are working with journalists. So not just looking at the others at state institution policy, but what the local community, what are they doing? That is also important. So to capture them and elevate it at the national level so people can know, people can understand. So indeed, all of those lessons learned, all of those comments, we are closely following them, documenting them, so that it will also inform future programming and how to design all of our activities.
Okay, and Blamo, you according to you, you've been reporting on the fishery sector for quite some times now, and you've tell us some of the stories you've reported and some of the support you have also received from EJF. But how challenging, or what are some of those challenges that you as a journalist face when it comes to reporting on the fishery sector?
So, the major of all of the challenges obviously would be funds, all right?
Funds.
So, the EGF will not have a grant cycle every time, and every time there will be story ideas, there will be things to follow up with. So, for example, I have this contract with Monga Bay, it's an international news outlet. And so sometimes when I have some, ideas to follow up with, I share with them. When they approve it, I implement them in line with their guidance and what they want. So I say that to say basically the major challenge is funds. Is access to funds, because if you got funds, you'll get access to internet, and then if you have access to internet, you'll be able to do research. If you got research, you'll be able to navigate through all of the challenges that you may have as a journalist. And the other thing is, but that's the major one, right? So then there are others on the side, other layers. For example, contacts, getting people to speak, getting people to respond. You will not have that issue with maybe the fisher folks, or fishmonger and fishermen, but you always have it with the folks at NAFA. Many times I will, ready to get feedback and response. There will be delay. Oh, I'll forward this to the marine fishery people. And then marine fishery people, let me forward this to the other department. The bureaucracy in getting responses from NAFA is so horrible, very horrible. So is one of the major challenges. I hope that the folks at NAFA can clear some of those bureaucracy. So when it's an issue to respond to, prepare a response. You can do it in a couple of days, but you cannot take a week and 2 weeks and then trying to forward to one marine department or what kind of department or whatever it is. So that's just frustrating, and that's the major challenge that I think I have had so far personally, reporting on fishery sector. Yeah.
I intentionally didn't want to talk about that part because, there are most of my colleagues over there, but I thank God it's coming from him. It's a major challenge, access to information. So if we're talking about transparency, it should cut across. Information should be made available, to the public. So these things are all part of the global charter, the 10 principles of the global charter, access to information. And thank God that Liberia, developed the Act, the Information, the Freedom, the FIA, right? Yeah. The Freedom of Information Act, right? Yeah. Yes. So it is important that all of our state institutions live up to that act, so that information can be made available. And when you are doing the right thing between you and myself, when you are doing the right thing, you will always be willing to give information out there. So we want to encourage our colleagues, our partners, let us be open to each other so we can be able to promote sustainable fisheries in Liberia. And at the end of the day, the livelihood the 33,000 people that depend on fisheries, their livelihood will be improved. And then, like NAFA did a frame survey, though it's not been published yet. But from that survey, it is indicated that there are over 75,000 now. So from 33,000, the number has come up to 75,000.
Wow.
So you see that. So they have Google information on NAFA. So let them publish it so that people can have access to it. But if it's not published, there's no way we can quote it. So we only quote the old information. You see that. So and the year that information was published, it has been long. So that the current information NAFA has, let it publish them so that we can be able to access them. So at least people will say, yes, NAFA is doing well, NAFA is doing this, when it comes to transparency in Liberia. So our goal is to work with the state institution NAFA to ensure that we improve the fishery sector.
Okay, and finally from my end, I mean, are there specific platforms where stories from EJF or EJF funded stories? Are there specific platforms where those stories can be found?
Yeah, you go to our website.
The website.
In fact, we supported the development of the national CMA policy.
Okay.
The Director General signed that, and then we did a lot of research work on the stakeholder analysis, the CMA activities in Liberia, the very civil loan, the impact of very civil loan. So all of these reports are on our website. So we are so transparent that everything we do is open. So whatever information you need that we have, and then we'll be able to make that available, to the public. So if you go to our website, any information you want, you can get it from there. So that is the issue of transparency.
Okay. So far so good. Is there anything?
And then we also have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, the Community of Fisheries Project. We have a Facebook page. So everything concerning the Community of Fisheries Project, just go on the Facebook, the type Community of Fisheries Project, you will get all the information that you need, all of the stories, all of our activities in the county, our interaction with the media, training of media, everything you think about, you go there, is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we did not touch on that you want to maybe discuss briefly before we take leave of here?
Well, we just want to appreciate the European Union for, they providing this grant.
Okay.
Yeah, and then implemented by the Environmental Justice Foundation, in collaboration with NAFA. So we are grateful to the European Union. We hope that the European Union will continue to support the fisheries sector, so that by the end of the day, the livelihood of the coastal communities will be improved.
Okay, Blamo, finally.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. We look forward to having more of such interaction. It was worthwhile. We appreciate you for the time and the research that you applied, and we will just encourage all the partners in the fisheries sector, the EGF, to continue the good work they're doing to promote, the improved management and governance of fisheries in Liberia, and the work NAFA is doing also to support local fishermen, and to emphasize that as we go forward, all of the policies around fisheries should take into consideration the survivability and sustainability of the local fishers, because these are the lifeblood of the fishery sector in Liberia. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And folks, you've been listening to the voices of Augustine Fire and Edward Blamo. Mr. Fire is from the EJF, the Environmental Justice Forum, and Foundation. Sorry, the Environmental Justice Foundation. And Blamo is a Liberian journalist, who has been writing on the fisheries sector for quite a very long period of time now. And they've been here, discussing on, working with the media to promote transparency in fisheries management for legal and sustainable fisheries in Liberia. Many thanks for your listening role. Next month, they will come your way again with another exciting conversation on fisheries in Liberia. And this conversation is brought to you by the European Union funded Communities for Fisheries project and is implemented by the Environmental Justice Foundation, the EGF, in partnership with NAFA. So it's been a wonderful time here. Thanks for your listening role. My name is Yekezi Zobel. I've been here alongside Chokon Flaman. And you can catch us up on this radio here tomorrow. But with Emmanuel David and Lorena Honorary, they will be taking you through for the rest of the week. Again, I'm Yekezi, bidding you a pleasant goodbye. And not to forget, those of you who played the radio entertainment game, all right? So we'll be doing our jaws and calling you up to confirm your mobile money numbers. We've already done the jaws, but we just need to confirm your mobile money numbers to send your money to you. So several persons walking away with 10K and one person walking away with 50K. So we will do that and we'll call you up, and once we do that on our next edition, we place a call to all of the most of the winners, especially the winner of the 50K, to confirm receipt of the payment. So keep playing the radio entertainment game to be one of the lucky winners here. Again, it's been a wonderful time, and bye-bye.